Hello and welcome to Master Manual, a practical guide for DMs, GMs, and just wanna BMs, as well as other folks. This is a podcast where we talk about and answer questions such as about role-playing games such as Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, mostly from a Dungeon Master's perspective. I'm Spencer Crittenden. I'm trying to change lanes.
I'm Cohen Edenfield, and I have a question for you.
Yes.
When you say just wanna BMs, so
constipation sufferers.
Okay, well, we have been on a different page for the entirety of this thing, because I thought just wanna BMs was like wannabes, like people who want to be a DM.
It is.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's spelled like that.
Yeah.
WANNABE, capital M.
I feel like people have replied thinking that just wanna BM was like what you said, desiring of a shit.
We might have explored this when we got that gift from Most Random Hero.
Oh, that's right.
But
I guess it preyed on my mind.
But definitely, that was the first time I was like, God damn it. I really could have thought about this. This is our own personal Harry Hole, which is the name of a detective.
It is. I watched the first, over Christmas, I watched the first, I want to stay with my friend Casey, I watched the first, I want to say 30 minutes of that movie.
Mm-hmm.
And it was disappointing because it was like, well, we were all pretty high, but it was more boring than it was stupid.
Sure.
It was like...
And which movie is this?
The Snowman.
Right.
With starring Detective Harry Hole. Here's an example of what it is like to watch the film The Snowman. There's a point where a character walks the guy goes to a lady's house and she's out in the yard and he talks to her, and then later he finds her dead body and she's been murdered. And later he meets an identical woman and she's like, "Oh, I'm her twin sister." And you would think that if you were going to do a film where you had characters who were identical twins, you would have had at least one scene of them there together.
Right.
To establish that, because I think as humans we need to see that instead of just having the same actress playing a sister, because it felt like on a spur of the moment decision to just use the same character, the same actress, to be like, well, she's her identical twin. Anyway.
Yeah, no, I believe it's a weird, everyone says it's a bad movie. I think How Did This Get Made is going to do it in their next episode, which is probably going to come out before this one.
Neat.
So catch us over there. We'll be guesting on How Did This Get Made.
We will not.
Oh yeah, they're going to love it. I'm going to cut our dialogue from an episode of this show into that episode.
Nice.
It won't make any sense, but it'll exist.
So what you been playing, homie?
Oh yeah, I've not been doing a lot. I've been working a lot. What have I been doing? I've been just editing Harmon Quest. We just screened the third and fourth episode. It's great. I put a clip that I deleted. Yeah.
Third and fourth. I think I was at that very recording.
No, you were at the 7th and 8th, I believe, with Darcy Carden, right?
Nope.
No.
I was at the one with
Jared Logan.
No, the one with
you were
Kate Micucci.
So then you were at 1 and 2.
Oh, my mistake. Yeah, that makes sense, because you were establishing the characters of the stakes, now that I think about it.
That makes sense.
So have you finished the first and second?
Yeah. Well, they're to animation now, but we screened the animatics. Oh yeah, it's looking good. I put a clip on the Discord and I deleted it because I don't want to get in trouble.
Okay, well just send it to me.
Yeah, and people who were there saw it, so you missed that. But
if you're not on the Discord, you're missing all those NDA breaking treats.
Yeah, exactly. But no, outside of that, I've just been stressed. So I've been indulging in Minecraft, the thing I do when I'm stressed.
Oh man, what do you do multi or single?
Single player. I've been streaming it on Twitch actually, just because I don't know.
I should check that out.
I'm just impressed with my own playing, and I'm like, someone better get a load of this, you know?
Yeah.
But right now I got this little shed kind of garage looking thing, and you can go downstairs and it's this sprawling like underground 4-chambered complex that I'm building out, and I have this magic area with flowers and a big industrial area that has all these like laser miners and machines, and
they got lasers?
Oh yeah, with all these mods I got
right.
all sorts of stuff. I'm flying around. I'm shooting magical. I'm raining magical hellfire down on zombies. And
That sounds much better than the vanilla game.
yeah, it's well, that's the thing. I mean, Minecraft, the vanilla game's pretty solid, but it has a pretty low ceiling unless you have a lot of aesthetic, interesting ideas you just want to explore.
Yeah,
with
I mean,
blocks.
the skybox is only like 64.
Yeah, but when you add all
get
these
it?
mods,
Because you said low ceiling.
what?
You said it has a
Oh,
low ceiling,
yeah.
and I was like, sorry.
It is though, right? Isn't it 64?
it
I
is-
think they actually expanded it recently, but
that was how high I would get,
Oh,
because
yeah.
all I would do in Minecraft the few times that I've tried to play is I would make perfect cooked stone skyscrapers that were 8x8, and then like they would go up to the skybox and they were eight tall, 8x8, and I would just like, here is my stone cock I've made, I guess. And then I would have I would get 2 lava blocks and I would like make big wings and then have lava like flowing down in streams off
Yeah.
of it, and I would be like, all right, I'm done.
yeah, because you could
And
do
I'd
stuff.
have the sun rise up through the middle.
That's awesome.
And I would make the entire middle glass. Like I would make the middle, so it was just like I'd remove the cook stone until everything was, all the sides were glass, and I would line it up so that the sunrise came up straight through the middle through
That's
the glass,
awesome.
and I would be like, I'm done with
In-
Minecraft.
In a lot of ways, that's more impressive than a lot of the stuff I've done. Like, it's just like the way you have to go about it in vanilla is so different, because like if I were trying to do that, what I would do is I'd build up some power generation so I can run some machines, and then I'd make a machine contraption that generates automatically cobblestone and then grinds it into sand and smelts it into glass and then smelts it into stone. And then, once I had about 300 or 400, then I'd pick up all of it in a magic wand that lets you lay 100 bricks at a time, and then I'd just go block, 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 and make the whole skyscraper. And then I'd be like, that was stupid, and then I'd just like,
Yeah, for me, it's a very meditative process,
Yeah,
because it's
like
like I have to go back.
gardening.
I don't like being in the mine. I don't like being underground
Yeah.
in the game, but I have to go down there to get more cobble, to get more stone, and because I'm looking for lava. I'm looking for the place where I'll get lava, and I'm looking for like obsidian so I got to get iron so I can carry the lava.
right, with
Like,
buckets.
and so it's like I have my goal, and everything is in service of making this one aesthetic thing that I'm
Yeah.
going to watch one time and then be done for a few years.
right.
But,
It's like your shrine.
Yeah, and it's like I've usually like played it during when I'm in some kind of like transitional phase, like right after I moved out here, or like when I moved, like broke up with the girl I was dating for like 8 years. I was like, I gotta make something.
Yeah,
Uh,
definitely. What about you?
Well, it seems like I just talked about myself a little bit. I've been
Well,
playing Stardew. I've been trying it again, and Stardew Valley, and I've been enjoying it a lot more.
Mm-hmm. Well, what happened the first time you played it?
I
You just stopped playing it?
I tried to, before it's this thing that I do with games sometimes where I immediately I've enjoyed a little bit, and I look up, I'm like, how do I do this one thing? And then I find out there's this whole vast expanse that I'm not of information.
Right.
And like all these people are like, well, you gotta, if you don't have 10,000 gold by summer, then you're fucking up, and you're not gonna be able to do that. And it's like,
yeah.
it's catastrophizing. It's catastrophizing under the auspices of helpful advice.
Yeah, can I just tell you that, like, oh man, when I first played Stardew Valley, I was like, look at this farm. I got to do the responsible thing and clear it all up. I spent almost the entire season clearing up just about everything I could, and then I'm like, all right, it's the 27th day of spring, time to buy all the seeds and plant all the seeds.
Oh, no.
And then, like, I just had, like, no money. I was like, I guess I'm selling berries for 2 weeks?
Yeah, and the bad thing is, all of those things probably then promptly died.
Right, that's the
Because
thing.
they only grow that season, and also when it changes to the next season, it generates a bunch of shit on your
New
farm.
shit. Yeah. But the big thing is that all of my money basically was gone because all my crops dried up. That's the thing. And I think that's true in all Harvest Moon style games. But yeah, when the seasons change, your crops die unless there's specifically a multi-season crop. So
Yeah, and the big goal. So the thing I was freaking out over the first time was like, oh, I got to get these crops so that I can fill these bundles, so I can get the greenhouse, so that I can grow things at all seasons. Blah blah blah. And I was like, but what I'm doing is creating stress because I'm not playing a meditative, chill game perfectly, so that later I can play it even more perfectly.
Right.
When what helped me a lot was Kate started playing it. And then she didn't pay attention to like any of that. She was like
Right.
she never really goes into like, how do I play this thing perfectly? She just treats it like a game for fun, for entertainment. And then I was able to see that like over time she still got all the shit.
Right.
And she still got this like perfect this incredible mega farm, because the game it's not set up to, it doesn't have like a finite end date.
Right.
And as a result, you can just keep doing stuff, and it's like, oh, you didn't win the Harvest Festival. Well, next year. There's literally always next year.
Yeah, I got such to an end game state that like I had basically all the serviceable farmland kind of taken up, and then I started converting all my other structures to just slime farms. And so it was
but you kept playing. You eventually had fun.
Yeah, no, I didn't jump off at that point. I just really got fucked.
Okay.
But
that's a testament to how that you don't have to care about like playing it perfectly, because you'll eventually just keep there.
Like I said, I fished and sold the fish, and I chopped down all the trees and sold all the wood, and I eventually got like the second half of the season to plant some flowers and stuff, because flowers are pretty short. And yeah, so I got back into it, and then I was only about 1 year behind the like optimal timeline, and so that didn't feel that bad. And
also it's like you don't have to do any of that. Like,
right.
I just started summer, and like I got most of my tools are I've been made into copper. I've made some iron bars, because I've gotten pretty like I think I've gotten to like 45 in the mines.
Damn, that's really good for
I go to the mines on days when it rains.
Right.
And on days I was able to go like the last few days because I had planned out my stuff pretty good. Like, okay, I know when the month ends. I planted a bunch of cauliflower with 13 days left, because those take 12. And I planted it such that like I would not be able to in the last few days, because I was like, oh, the last few days I can't plant anything. I can only harvest, because nothing grows short enough to. And it ended up being really good. Like I had enough money to buy like 9 of all of the crops.
Mm-hmm.
And like a bunch of the stuff that I noticed the transition into summer is like, oh, this has a lot of crops that you plant once and they harvest multiple times,
right?
Because they're transitioning you into
exploring
the rest of the world, because they're like, oh, you don't have to keep planting. So all I have to, and now I have the better water thing.
I love that game, man.
Yeah, I'm gonna play like Kate's away this weekend, so I'm cat sitting for her. Her roommate's also out of town, so I'm taking a very Cohen locked away time,
right?
And I'm gonna play a lot of Stardew today. I like it. I
love it.
Yeah,
I
do.
Want some more of it.
I do. Don't know what it is, but the little Junimos love it.
I just realized that the other game I've been playing is Wargroove, which is also by the same guy, I believe. It's like not to be dismissive, but it's like Advance Wars knockoff. It's really, really fun.
Yeah. I always wanted to play Advance Wars, but the Game Boy Advance was such a it was a hard little system.
Oh wow! Watch your mouth.
I mean, I loved the. You know what? When the SP came out, I was like, yeah, hell yeah.
That's fair. Okay. That makes sense.
Because all of a sudden you can charge it, and it's backlit.
The backlight was huge.
It's unbelievable that for like 2 years we all played Game Boy Advances. Like, I can't really see anything, but I assure you I'm having a great time.
Or Game Boy Colors, where it's like use the Nyko worm light.
I had the one that was it like clamped on the front.
Lens?
Yeah, that's
the one.
That was buck wild.
Hell
yeah. But I knew people who had like the USB plug-in worm light thing on the side too. It's like, what were we? We were trying so hard to just have phones.
It's just
to have modern phones.
It's
like,
so funny.
It used to be a thing on school trips. Like, hey kids, here's a little way back for you. It used to be a thing on like school trips. You'd be on the bus, and then like there would be the kids who had like a Game Boy or a Game Gear.
Mm-hmm.
And like people would huddle around them like chimps at their first fire, just like for warmth and entertainment. I guess kids these days, if they, maybe they're bringing their Switches, or maybe they're just fucking around on their phone. Like, almost everything. My phone could be running Pokemon Blue by accident in a like that would take so little memory that it could be running in battery power. It could be running in a tab that I had forgotten about.
Sure.
Like,
I mean, it's great. I love new tech. I mean, it's really, I don't know. I bought a 4 terabyte drive the other day for like $100, and it was like one of these small size ones. And then I went into work, and then I saw this guy who had a 4 terabyte drive, and it was like the size of a shoebox, and he bought it for like $1,000, years ago. And I'm like, I love technology.
Yeah, I knew a guy who spent, when I was in my freshman year of college in like 2006, he was like, I want to show you something, and like reverential, and he like showed me this drive, and he was like, cost me $800.
Yeah,
it's a terabyte.
Yeah,
and it was the size of like it was the size of 2 shoeboxes. It was huge.
Yeah,
it was like they were having to fold up the files and put them in there.
Do you remember back when like thumb drives were coming out? And
Yeah,
people were like, it has 500 megabytes.
It's $50, and it would like slide out. I still have drives like that because I've just like put data on them at different times.
It just kept happening though, and then it was like they have 2 gigabytes and they're only $80.
Yeah,
and now it's like you can like sneeze out like a 16 gigabyte. I don't know. I feel like I've said this to someone before. Hopefully not
on this podcast. Yeah, I went to Fry's Electronics last weekend. Because I just wanted to get a thing from a Switch, because I was like, I'm going to play Final Fantasy 9, and I've got the little plug-in. Fry's Electronics is a labyrinth where nothing is where you think it is.
It's a dystopic wonderland.
It is weird. I was in there, and I was I was in there for like 30 minutes, and for the back 15. Somebody had gotten in, was like, some guys were like, where the speaker part is, where you can make the music so loud that everyone in the store can hear it with their whole bones.
Right.
And nobody was stopping it. Like, none of the guys who worked there seemed to even notice. And I was like, I too have worked retail. And it's like, at a certain point, there's nothing left.
It burns out your caring about things happening circuit.
But it's like, I ended up, they were out of most of them, so I ended up getting like the official Nintendo one, which I knew was a ripoff. Yeah. But I was like, I also know this is definitely going to work.
And it probably has a warranty of some sort.
Yeah.
Or at least it doesn't void my warranty.
Exactly. Like, it's like, I know how Nintendo is.
Yeah.
This is not good.
Speaking of Nintendo, my roommate Callie just broke her Switch and sent it in. She voided the warranty and sent it in. They repaired it for free somehow, which is like, I've never heard of anything.
That's Nintendo, baby. Like, I fucked up my 3DS like 2 years ago and sent it in, and like they even managed to like, in the thing they were like, we won't be able to save your data.
That's what they said. Yeah,
I had saved like that one game, something Life,
Tomodachi Life.
Was that it? It was the one
Tomodachi Life. Yeah.
There's like 12 jobs and it's like everything.
I think you told me about it on this very podcast.
Oh yeah, it was a life ruiner. But they were like, they ended up. They were like, well, we'll lose your data, but we can fix your game, fix your system. I was like, I'll just try to fix it myself, because I've played 130 hours and I ruined it. And
that's what Callie did.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then they said, we're going to lose your data. And she was like, oh, no. And then she was like, they deleted my data. Oh, no. And I was like, oh, no. And she was like, oh, no, oh, no. And I'm like, oh, no.
It happened.
And then she's like, oh, no, oh, no, oh, no. And I'm like, oh, no. And then she was like, oh, they didn't. And I was like, great. Well, I'm glad you spent all that time telling me, oh, no.
Well, I understand. Data is a hard thing to lose.
I get it, but it's just, I was under the impression that they probably were just saying that, and we should check before we react. But I get it. Anyway, do you wanna look at one of these quick little questions?
Oh yeah, let's legitimize our presence here.
Just one of the quickest little. We're doing a minisode, just a quick minisode between seasons or not. I don't know. Is there a quicker one?
Here we go.
The quickest one, maybe. I don't even know.
From Blueberry. This is from the Discord. When I'm trying to create a good villain, what are some ways before the big fight that I can show off the villain's power to the party?
Yeah. I feel like we might have answered this one before, but I think he asked it in a different way, and we answered it in a different way. So asking it this way really, really, I don't know, it made me think, Well, okay, so we talked about in a recent minisode a dragon cult being bad at being at broadcasting the villain and just kind of murdering women and challenging people to death matches.
Yeah,
and
and
stuff.
then there's like a dragon is there, but he's bored, which I guess is the way that they have like the dragon not. Yeah, it's bad. It's like I think that the main failure there was it created a contrived situation in which it had to be a one-on-one fight because theoretically the level 1 characters could have actually won
if it wasn't one-on-one.
But they had to make this character weak enough that they could be beat 2 sessions later. It was I think
Weird.
It's a weird campaign. And then I realized I was like, I'm doing all this work to save this character because I'm going to change things to make them a bigger thing of the thing. I was like, wait, I can just make my own half dragon.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't actually have to. I was like, oh, I'm actually going to change this to being blue, and I'm going to change the gender and do a lot of cool things and make this a much better character. I was like, wait, I'm making a new character.
Right.
Like it is absurd to. Anyway, what do you think? How do you show off you've done this? You've had.
Yeah, I mean, I like thinking of I like making minions / half villains, but then treating them like the villain.
Yeah.
And then like oftentimes they kind of like ascend to being the real villain because I have more ideas regarding them. Or like, and this happens a lot in fiction and stuff, that mini villain ends up like killing the emperor or whatever and then becomes like more interesting as a result of kind of turning against both institutions.
Yeah. Well, and the character it ends up being like, wait a minute, this character who they've interacted with the most and spent all this time with
more compelling.
And this is I think a failing of like some Final Fantasy games is like you'll spend the entire time chasing down this. I think that was the thing that Final Fantasy VII ended up doing right because it sets everything up like Jenova is going to be like the main villain,
right?
And it's like, well, it's not really. It's Sephiroth,
right?
Sephiroth is the thing,
right?
Yeah, because it's like having a character who is the agent of some. Because you're like, oh, well, this incredibly powerful force off to the side is the real.
Sorry, I was trying to cut you off.
No, I'm just. It's interesting because it's like this is the way. It's the thing. It's like you make the character who.
Right. We just talked
about
about this that you make the character emblematic of the concept you're trying to embody for the plot.
Yeah. Like Ra's al Ghul embodies like the rough concept of social breakdown in the Batman movies.
Right.
And Bane represents a very rich, white privileged man's idea of what Occupy Wall Street is.
Just a bunch of guys with motorcycles.
I think they have motorcycles. No one knows. Why do I sound like Sean Connery having a cup of cocoa?
Okay, so like in the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, there was a quote where Sean Connery
and the game is on.
he goes like I'm yet to be impressed or something.
Yeah.
Or like, I'm waiting. I think he says in the ad he says I've yet to be impressed, but then in the actual film he goes I'm waiting to be impressed.
Yeah.
And I think of that, but I ascribe it to Bane because of the similarity of the voice, which is just so strange. Oh man, what a weird fucking thing.
You bring a bat, I bring a mask. They send one of yours to Gotham General, I send one of yours to Arkham. So that's the filmed in Chicago way. That was a very good joke I just made. I was syncing up Sean Connery's character from The Untouchables and his famous quote there. That guy's got a Team Rocket shirt.
Oh, that's badass.
Oh shit, is there a Pokemon thing?
Looks like
happening
he's
right now?
blasting off again. I wouldn't assume that. He seems like he might just have a cool shirt.
But it's also
let's keep
Saturday
our eye
during
out.
the Pokemon time.
I would just accept to see more people.
That's true.
But in Dungeon World, they have what they call debilities, which are just it's ways of making complications that aren't just hit point damage. And it just gets to the concept of, we're trying to add costs and punishments, but we're not necessarily just arbitrarily detracting from a point score, and we aren't materially destroying their ability to access the world. I don't know, it's just like that content is a cool idea. But what else about Bane is that he's smart but also powerful. He has this weird face thing that kind of makes him look really intimidating, and but they're talking more about his power though, right?
I think they said like how to show off the villain's power. Show off the villain's power. Okay. I do want quick side note. I've been thinking a lot about hit points.
Right.
And I think what I've realized is that players ultimately, whether they realize it in a like I know this sense or just subconsciously, it becomes like Magic, where the only hit point that matters is the last one.
Right.
Where it's like you have to find other ways to threaten them because
they can heal.
Yeah. Actually, to this point, I gave them a staff of healing, like they got it from them, because none of them were a healer.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, I'm just gonna have this in here, and then I'm gonna find other ways to. I'm gonna have they can top off at fights. But
yeah. In Harmon Quest, I had Erin's pendant, and then in the next season, she also had a pendant, and that was because none of them had healers. And I also used NPCs that generally had some healing spells to cover that base.
I think ultimately, like a number is hard to get committed to.
It's a literal abstraction.
Yeah, if you can, threatening other things is better, and I think this is a way because the.
That's why Dungeon World recommends bonds, and now 5th edition. Sorry, I cut you.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. And the I think with what Blueberry's question is getting at here is like, well, the problem is you can't have them show off their power by just killing the party, which is because we have this system in place where if they lose a fight, they're going to start dying because there's this mechanical effect. It's like in a TV show, for instance. They could just lose, and then the villain could leave.
Yeah.
And it's like maybe they pick themselves back up.
Or you script the protagonist running away and narrowly escaping, but that doesn't occur to the players necessarily.
Yeah. I did have them, I find that, at least in the group I'm doing for now, they are much more likely to leave if they think they're going to get in trouble than if they think they're going to be killed. Mm-hmm. Like if they start a fire,
that makes so much sense.
They run away because they're like, "Oh shit!" When we were fighting, we set that jail on fire, and then the windmill. We got to leave before he finds out we did that.
Yeah,
it's like.
So I think that goes to understanding the kind of consequences and things that your players value, because I think that what you're saying is very true, and I'm not invalidating, but at the same time, I think some people are very wary of taking any hit point damage to the point of like the smallest bit is enough to turn someone off of an activity, even though it's like, well, yeah, it would be great to grab this guy's glowing sword, even if it takes you a little damage, And so like I think that other players might like be way too jumpy at the idea of hit point damage, but that still stems from this weakness of it as an abstraction and kind of it not lending itself towards the fictional aspect of role playing that you're actually going for when you're trying to set stakes and stuff.
Yeah, because like I think like if in real life, like if every time you banged your knee, you knew that you had lost 3 hit points off of like a potential 67.
Right. It would change your relationship to pain.
Yeah, it'd be like, oh my God, if I bang my knee 20 more times, I'm going to fucking die.
Right.
Which is not true.
No.
But it's a weird, it's an abstraction that has an unfortunate effect of either becoming meaningless or becoming the whole thing.
Yeah.
Show off their power. Have them beat someone else? Like have a wharf in there to lose?
Yeah. I think you just want to invoke kind of bonds. I don't know. Again, like
talk about that. Like explain what
Dungeon World recommends you adding bonds. Like the system has bonds that you put on your players saying like, oh, I hate injustice. So that's something that matters to me. And then mechanically it matters. 5th edition has it tries to use this as a way to encourage role playing and give the DM things to work with and the player things to work with.
And you can do inspiration if they act according to their bond or whatever.
Right.
Or you can make using our DM in the game I play in, Rich, makes we have to use one of our bonds, flaws, whatever in order to use inspiration.
Right.
Like we have to be driven because it's representing us being driven by something sort of key to our character. And we start every session with 1 inspiration, and we can get more theoretically, but like it's great because it's like rather than being some static resource that you save forever for like the moment, it's like we know we get 1 per session no matter what, so we actually use it, and
right,
because he's tied it to role playing, it encourages us to act in line with what we said our characters are.
Right. Dungeon World's the same way. A lot of systems actually do this where they tie in role-playing incentives to the mechanical benefits of the game. The end result is it weaves the gameplay into the themes you're trying to do. It makes perfect sense. Game design generally wants to do things like that. So Dungeons & Dragons doesn't have a ton of that. Obviously, Rich is tapping into a very potent and powerful aspect of why they wanted that system to be added to 5th edition in the first place, is because it does add all this stuff that really helps everyone latch onto stuff stuff. I would say, you just run with that and try and it kind of depends on your players having more grasp of their characters' motivations and stuff, but you just try and lead into their hooks and make that explicit. Say your character hates injustice, or not injustice. Your character is squeamish about violence, and so this person being extra sadistic just turns your heart. And so you just, I don't know, maybe that's but that idea is you don't have to actually do anything. You're just kind of giving people reasons to care, and that burns them up, and then they'll kind of build off of that themselves.
Yeah, So the first thing I had them do is I had their stuff taken. They were let out of jail, and the person said, "You can leave." And they're like, "Well, can I have things back?" It's like, "Oh no, those have been confiscated to pay for your crimes." Mm-hmm. They're like, "Well, we didn't do anything." Half of them that were in jail for bullshit reason they'd come up with, and they're and so their motivation was and then they were already again opposed because they're like, "Hey, we've been done dirty here,"
right?
And they're calling us monsters because none of them are playing like a human. It's like a tiefling, a kinku, a gnome, and a dragonborn.
Yeah,
So,
you said that last
so.
episode, but no one will remember that.
Yeah.
Because it was a whole week ago. No,
yeah,
I don't know.
True.
Yeah, okay. So hopefully that answers your question.
I guess.
Oh, did you have more? Sorry.
Well, I'm trying to think of power. So let's get to what is power. I think can mean a lot of different things.
Influence.
Yeah, a villain. It doesn't have to just be you have a dragon and you show them breathing fire because that's their power. But yeah, if a villain's power is that they control a city through manipulation and influence and all of this, showing them you leaning on that hard against the players or in some way, having them just walk into a jail where you're arrested. So television program Game of Thrones, for instance, there's a point where in the first season where the character Ned Stark is in jail, and the jailer is like, "Oh, you're in a rough spot, aren't you?" And then he looks up and it's "Oh, it's this guy Varys who he knew before, who we thought was just some shitty guy who couldn't do anything, but turns out he's a master of disguise, and he's actually knows all these intrigues and stuff." And having them do something that demonstrates that they are able to act in a way that is beyond the capabilities of the player, whether
right.
that be spending some huge amount of money or calling on some force, if they're able, maybe they might extend their 5 fingers and a flock of 1,000 ravens appears from nowhere and swoops down to carry off a whole crowd of people, for instance.
Right. So this kind of just gets back to the idea that we're leaning on using NPCs effectively, right? The villain is an NPC, and so you want to make him a compelling NPC, so you're having a compelling NPC interaction, or you're having interactions with other NPCs through which you're exploring what this villain is. If the villain is causing problems, maybe he took someone's son away or something, and so the son, the mom or dad is complaining, and so then you're having an NPC interaction where you're revealing what the problem this villain is posing. Also,
don't feel limited to the spells that are in the game, or don't feel like this might be heresy, but don't feel like the only things that your villain can do are things that are listed in the Dungeon Master's Guide and Monster Manual.
Right.
The thing that I just said, I don't think there's a spell for calling ravens or that, but
there might as well be.
Yeah, I mean, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's a cool thing.
That's what we're doing, is being cool.
It doesn't have to be anything specific. It doesn't, I realized halfway through the session that I was this dryad that I have, the things that I have this dryad doing and want them to do go well beyond the the monster manual for a
right.
dryad. I guess it's a different thing. And you can use spells for inspiration. You can use them as a guide, and you can be they're doing this, but you also don't have to. I would say rarely would I ever have a say the villain casts fireball.
No.
Or the villain casts sickening radiance.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That's a cool spell though. I love sickening radiance.
It's sick, bro.
Yeah, my sorcerer just got it, and we went to dinner with a vampire, and as soon as we start again, I might cast that.
That could be fun.
Although I've been thinking that vampire might not even actually be there. She might just be a projection because the whole house is an illusion. So, but then how would she cast? If she weren't
Spoiler
there?
alert.
I don't know.
You know what I'm saying?
It's the game I'm playing, and I just don't know.
I know, and everyone's going to know now.
Everyone's gonna
The
know.
secret that it wasn't a vampire. I don't know. It looks like we're getting pulled over, so I think that means it's time for a break.
Oh shit, are we? Hey Spencer, has this ever happened to you?
Oh, I think I want to say yes, but let's listen.
You're at dinner.
Mhm.
You're at a fancy dinner party where you and your friends have been invited.
Right.
Your adventuring compatriots have been invited to attend a dinner by sort of the next lieutenant in the evil organization that has been pursuing you and your friends for a while. And you go there, and she casts a spell upon you, which you choose to resist, but the rest of your party doesn't, except for one guy. And then you think you don't know if she's even there or not. Because you're like going to cast a strong spell to fight them, but then what if it's just an illusion? What if they're not even there?
Oh yeah, this happened to me just the other day.
So what do you do?
I couldn't tell you.
Well, that's why we've got O'Houlihan's Bag of Sand.
O'Houlihan, the living pub.
That's
and now
right.
The farmer's market.
That's right. O'Houlihan's Bag of Sand from the makers of the things
Cast ointment.
Yeah, from the makers of the things you can get in O'Houlihan's, providing he doesn't eat you. It's O'Houlihan's Bag of Sand. It's a bag of sand that you throw at something you think might be an illusion, and if it goes through, then it wasn't actually there.
O'Houlihan's test sand is perfect for illusions as well as secret doors and invisible creatures.
With this, the thing about O'Houlihan's Bag of Sand is that the bag is kind of you twist a thing, and then the seams become much more fragile. After you twist this little thing, you invoke it and you throw it, and it bursts, and it's really hard for an illusion to accurately do things like showing the scattering of sand grains. It's hard for an illusionist to, on the fly,
To parse that.
yeah, because our brains, we can see that something's not quite right. It's the uncanny valley, which is where the sand comes from. The uncanny valley itself.
It's the uncanny valley which O'Houlihan had to cross before he could start posing as a living pub.
It was super, super grueling, but he earned a healthy respect for the horrifying not folk who live there.
The Dale Gribble guarantees that O'Houlihan's sand can also be used as pocket sand in a pinch.
Oh yeah, you just cut it loose. But with this healthy bag, you can just you just throw it and it splits, and it's like, oh shit.
That's an illusion.
Yeah.
Perfect for possible vampires, doppelgangers, were-won'ts,
And where will they or where won't they?
and turkey basters. Use the promo code
Goblin Flakes at checkout.
and before checkout.
Yes,
This
please.
is, yeah, most companies are a lot more straightforward, but O'Houlihan, he's a bit.
O'Houlihan is sort of wary of this whole podcast thing, and
Once bitten, twice shy.
I think because we sort of created him, he's a little bit nervous that we are taking advantage. So he wants to make sure that that you guys are really coming from our podcast. So you have to enter it. You have to enter the code twice.
And as always, drink responsibly, which is to say, not in a mimic.
Have a couple and then tip well and then leave and bow on your way out and say, I sure did enjoy this polite pub's admission of us to his own guts.
This polite pub's ingenious imbibements.
And we're back.
I sure did enjoy that suite of products.
Oh, you son of a bitch.
It was sweet. See, I did both sides.
You did all of it. Why am I even here? Ooh, that person has a billowing cloak.
Yeah, that's looking fly.
How old are they? Oh, they're old enough that it looks cool.
That was pretty badass.
Because, sometimes you see an outfit from a distance and you're like, if that's like a 20-year-old guy, that's going to look fucking stupid. But if that's like it's like a 60-year-old Korean man, it looks badass.
Sometimes people wear clothes, and sometimes people have costumes.
Sometimes people wear clothes, and sometimes the clothes wear them.
Hell yeah.
And that guy was wearing that cool cloak that billowed around him and like a cool hat.
Yeah, man.
Look at this. Look at this squad of children
these
crossing
guys,
the street.
A couple of these guys are wearing clothes, and a couple of these guys are wearing costumes. You know what I'm saying?
One of these kids is carrying a football.
That guy's just in clothes.
If these were humans, if these
were humans,
if these people were in, God, That is how that came out, huh? I was gonna say if these people were in like a TV,
If this
thing,
weren't a video game.
I would be like, this is contrived.
Yeah.
Packs of children don't walk around one carrying a football,
And
but
if
I guess
these-
they do.
And if these were humans, I wouldn't feel bad running them over. No, wait. I mean, I would feel bad running them over.
Well, 5 less now.
And it looks like we'll have to take another break as we're being pulled over again.
No, it was a future cop.
All right. Do you want to do an animal?
Yeah, let's. You know what? Let's do it.
All right. Do you have a pitch? I could name off monsters if you don't.
Okay, I think I got something.
Okay, go for it.
It's a were-eel.
Okay.
It's a new type of lycanthrope where you turn into an eel.
So in some of the most clear-watered seas, where the moon shines down to the deep depths where eels dwell,
Yes, deep,
lycanthropy.
tangling each other into knots, weaving a dark tapestry as their bioluminescence crackles with energy. Some dark magic was born from their natural arcana. And if you get bitten by one of these, see, this is okay. So you know how sometimes eels will bite things and then swim into them,
Yeah.
which is the scariest thing in the world. So if a magically imbued eel bites you and then swims inside you, you have been touched by the eel essence.
Oh, damn.
And on the full moon, if you're in water. You know what? Actually, take that back. If you're in the water, if you're in the water at night,
And you have this eel in your body.
no, like once it happens, you're touched, and this is happening. If you're in the water at night, you become this like eel form where you get like a horrible lamprey mouth, and you kind of go blind, and you have electricity powers.
Electricity powers.
Yeah, like an electric eel.
Yeah. Okay. So, at will, shocking grasp.
Yeah, it will shock and grasp. I'm gonna say you have advantage on. I always want to say grapple checks, but that's not a thing anymore.
Blind sense.
Oh yeah, blind sense. Let's see. Blind sense, shocking grasp. I'm gonna say disengage.
Yeah.
You can take disengage as a bonus action
That's cool.
because they're just so slippery. And you can try to. And you know what? Vampiric touch.
Yeah, because it can drain blood.
Yeah.
And disadvantages are,
Perception.
yeah, perception. You,
Persuasion.
yeah. Oh, yeah, like any charisma.
Except intimidation.
Yeah, you'd probably be vulnerable to, like, dryness and heat, like a Mind Flayer kind of is, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say, and then I'd say I think that like when you're not in the water at night, you can sometimes call like once a day you can call on your one of your powers, either shocking grasp or vampiric touch.
Oh, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's got to be like a downside to the hunger of it, right?
Okay,
like,
yeah.
Like just like to keep like a vampire.
Okay,
would,
you know
or-
what? If you don't use your vampiric touch once a day, like if you don't use your vampiric touch, you involuntarily turn into the eel
Okay.
at night.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm gonna take out the water thing.
No,
I'm
keep
not-
the water thing.
Okay, like the water thing, I'm gonna say like you have
That's the
disadvantage.
start of it.
You have disadvantage if you're not in the water.
Okay.
But like you have disadvantage on attack rolls, and you take an ongoing 1d4 every turn damage if you're not in the water.
Mm-hmm.
If you've transformed,
Mm-hmm.
you
I'm
can
into it.
yeah. But you do still have these other powers.
Right.
So it's like
Yeah. What about aware an enemy? Like just like weird like tentacle kind of things like burst out of your back,
ooh, that's fun,
and then you just kind of like fold downwards.
and die.
Yeah, you just kind of
You
fold downward
die
and meld
because
into
of-
a stalk.
And then you die because the seas have warmed 3 degrees.
Oh,
and
yeah.
now you and your entire species die off.
Okay, yeah. So if you're bitten by aware an enemy, when the full moon strikes, if you're not on coral,
You fucking die.
you just die. And it's
You
very
wither
hard.
up from your feet up.
Right. And yeah, you'll just die.
It's sort of a death sentence because it's rare, especially if you get like savaged by an enemy
Mm-hmm.
under the light of a full moon. You're probably not the next full moon going to be like, you know what I should do? Go make some physical contact with coral.
Yeah. That's so true. Yeah, so it's just like, oh man, I'm not going to the beach. I'm fucking, I'm staying inside, and then you're dead.
Yeah.
Man, any last wares?
Let's see.
Wereplankton.
Yeah, wereplankton. You get really small,
Yeah,
and you probably, unless you're in the water, you probably dry out and die.
Yeah, you probably just like die to environmental factors
Yeah.
before the night ends.
And then, like, maybe you'll survive through the night, but don't get near a whale.
Awesome. Yeah, no, that's awesome. Okay, so Master Manual Pod, do you have any last thoughts or anything?
At mastermanualpod@gmail.com. Thank you to everyone who emailed talking. I should have talked this last time. Thank you to everyone who emailed talking to me about their own burnout stuff.
Yeah, when we start, we should really talk about that in depth, but continue.
Yeah, when we start back, we're going to talk about that. I'm going to like address some of those specifically, but it was very nice to receive those emails, and it made me feel a lot better.
Yeah.
And it really got me on track. On like, I was like, oh, this is not just a me thing or a Spencer thing.
Right.
And this got me on track on like trying to adapt what I was doing to find a more positive way to do it. And I did. So thank you.
Awesome. And hopefully we'll explore that more going forward.
Yeah.
Awesome.
We'll check in Cohen's burnout stat.
Use the hashtag.
And use the Dailyo app.
Yeah, he's been talking about that a little bit. It seems really cool, especially for things like that and for just keeping abreast on how you're doing day to day, right?
Yeah, you just check in and you just like say what your mood is. We really should like talk to any of these companies that I constantly talk about.
Sure.
Using their apps, but like
we already have a promo code.
Oh yeah, well, you just check in and you talk about what you say like, "Oh, I'm one of these moods," and you can name them yourself. So like mine refers less to my mood in terms of like happiness or sadness, and more to a at the like about 2/3 of the way through the day, how am I doing in terms of like my executive functions and my capacity to continue existing?
Yeah.
And you can track, like, you can add like, these are the activities I've done today. I'm like,
yeah, you could track all these different, like,
Yeah.
whatever you want. Like, if it's like exercise, you might do exercise. If it's like you know how you're feeling throughout the day, or
One
just
of mine
simple tasks.
One of mine is serial TV,
Mhm.
and that's if I watched more than one episode of a show that I am watching ongoing.
Mhm.
Like right now I'm rewatching My Hero Academia, and if I watch more than one episode of that, I track it. Because I noticed, I was like, I'm watching a lot of Deep Space Nine. This might be a habit of
Right.
mine to like just drop into like watching. And I noticed that was really fucking up my sleep, because it's like 40 minutes, really easy to just keep watching. Oh, I'll do one more. Oh, well, I'm already up late, so I'm up late, so it's happening. It's 1:40, but I can do one more. I'll just wake up
gotcha.
2:40, and I'll go to sleep 2:40
Right.
at 2:20, and then I'll wake up at 7:40, and that's fine. That's
This
enough
is
sleep.
making me nervous just thinking about it.
Yeah.
I don't love it. But yeah, no, I mean, it seems like a cool app. Dailyo, you know, it's just, I don't know. It
Yeah.
seems, you know, you can do it yourself.
My
I
roommate
guess.
Shelby told me about it, and it's very helpful.
Yeah, it's manual, just like mastery.
Looks like we booked it again.